today's world, many countries are implementing a lot of regulatory restrictions and requirements out there, and a lot of customers out there actually need to work, get the work on premise.
GreenLake is not tied down to one platform. So GreenLake is a platform of choice. So you can run various workloads. Today you are running Azure Local on HPE GreenLake. Tomorrow you can also run Hyper-V on a GreenLake model.
Start small, and as your business grows, you start to allocate more funds according to what your business needs, and you're not tied down to a single upfront large payment.
Hi everybody, welcome to this new session. So today we are going to discuss about Azure Local with HPE for modern IT. And today with me, I have actually people from HPE and from Microsoft. And to start with, maybe I will let you introduce each of you. And maybe you can also share with us what kind of issues or element that you have been discussing with your customer recently who are actually seen by the customer as a challenge, right? So who are you and what are the challenges that you see today into the market?
Hi, my name is Senthil Prakash and I'm part of HPE Singapore. I'm with HPE for the last 21 years, primarily working on the cloud technologies and of late with the AI. In my day-to-day job, I predominantly meet the IT leaders, the CXO community, and the line of businesses. And my primary charter is to help them provide hybrid cloud solutions and services and ensure that they are able to accelerate the digital transformation. So today, the world is more chaotic than the past because people want to do more with less. There is increasing cost pressure. They need cloud experience everywhere. So we need to bring in all the elements and ensure that we are providing the right technology to the customer depending upon the customer and the use case. So that's what I am primarily focusing on.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
I'm Jojo. I'm the Microsoft Alliance Manager for HPE. I help to lead and oversee the server business priority across Asia.
Hey, I'm Danny here. I'm the Microsoft Business Development Manager for Microsoft Windows Server ROK, and of course the Azure Local. And it's nice to be here.
Okay, very good. So let's go back to the point about challenge, right? So again, what are the leaders in IT today are seeing as a challenge when you're talking to them, right? What kind of, if you can give me briefly so like that we can set the stage a little bit, yeah?
So what we are seeing nowadays is that customers, they actually want very fast cloud hybrid innovation, but at the same time, it must be able to manage data sovereignty, latency, as well as regulation on top of their existing investment. Hybrid then starts to become a more compelling operating models. And for Microsoft, we actually have Azure Local to help them with.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds correct. And that's what we normally see out there today. They want consolidation. They want to move off a certain platform onto something that's simpler. And that's where HPE and Microsoft can play a big part in this.
Okay.
So I agree with almost all the problems that was listed out by Microsoft. Today, innovation is going to be the key. So to innovate, you need the speed and agility, and you need to have the cloud services running on premise because for this part of the globe, definitely data sovereignty is a strict requirement, right? So it is about giving those offerings to the customer and also ensuring that how we can deliver the cloud experience with the pay-per-use option in the on-premise. So HP has a solution. That's why we are providing Azure Local with HPE GreenLake, which is our primary differentiation. And there is a lot of uptake of the solution in the market today.
Okay, so let's maybe cut that into little piece, right? So you mentioned about Azure Local, right? So what is Azure Local exactly today, right? I mean, I think there have been many different naming conventions. So maybe what is the state of Azure Local today?
Well, Azure Local is a solution from Microsoft where we are actually extending the cloud services to the on-premises into the customer's data center where customers have full control of what they want to deploy, full control of the data, and nothing moves out from the customer's data center into the cloud. So a customer ends up getting full sovereignty control of the deployment and continue to have the cloud-like experience on premise. That's where the HPE GreenLake comes into the whole equation very nicely. Is both these solutions are all consumption based, and it makes the lives of the CIO and the CFO very simple. Everything's predictable.
Put simply, so Azure Local actually brings the Azure Cloud Operating Model onto your own facility. so that you can actually use familiar Azure APIs, governance, as well as management tools while keeping data and latency sensitive information physically local.
So it's been more than 30 years we are collaborating with Microsoft, and we could proudly say that we are the first hybrid cloud partner for Microsoft, and we align at the strategy level. Microsoft says cloud to edge, and we say edge to cloud. So we meet at a common point, which we define the world or the planet to be hybrid, and which is effectively very very true, right? So customers are looking for hybrid cloud solutions, and if you could see, Azure Local is a software where it brings the public Azure services to the on-premise, but it cannot run on its own. It requires a very reliable platform, and the platform has to be under a pay per consumption model because we are going to offer the cloud experience. So we collaborate with Microsoft, ensure that Azure Local is properly, thoroughly tested, certified, and we are able to roll this into the customer in a very successful way. And we differentiate a lot with our GreenLake platform in terms of capacity planning, in terms of providing elasticity, pay as you grow, so many things, and also providing a lot of value added services which can help the customer run the workloads in a very proper production environment.
Looks like a very compelling solution, right? So what does it also mean from an operation point of view? I mean, I understand from a technology what is Azure Local and also what kind of value proposition we bring technically, but how that, I would say, stretch into the day too. I mean, what you describe is more the design and the setup of this kind of environment, but what will be the operation and the experience the customer are going to have into the long run?
That's a very apt question, right? Because we wanted to deliver the same experience that the customers are enjoying in public Azure, also for the on-premise environment. That's where HP GreenLake comes. So in the through the HP GreenLake model, we are delivering the solution to the customer, and the line of businesses or the IT operators can focus on the business applications and focus on the innovation. We take care of the infrastructure layer, we take care of running the operations for them, we provide the lifecycle management, security, patching updates. So in net, we are providing a proper cloud experience to the customer, even in their data center, and customer can just log in like how they log into the public Azure and start doing their innovation work, and IT operations can focus on automation and orchestration kind of activity rather than doing the regular mundane tasks.
And how we look at that from Microsoft point of view? I mean, this is again one side of the story, but how is it from a Microsoft side of the story?
Well, the Azure equals control plane and services that we can actually bring on premise. Well, the GreenLake equals I would say GreenLake would equal the infrastructure and the life cycle management that HPE can bring to the table. So if I actually add these two together, it becomes very compelling for any customers out there, where the customer can treat this as a true on-premise hybrid infrastructure with not much need to worry about the deployment and the infrastructure, because these two are well taken care of. Same management tool from Microsoft through Azure, and the same lifecycle management capability from a trusted hardware vendor like HPE.
So all that looks very complicated, actually. Is it really for all the customer or only for very large company and enterprise?
Actually, good question. Not at all. We are actually seeing adoption starting across mid-sized organizations as well as regulated industries like manufacturing, healthcare, as well as retail. Now, anywhere that has the need for latency as well as data residency, Azure Local is actually a strong fit. And it is also ideal for organizations that wants the split as well as the simplicity while still keeping specific data, applications, or operations local.
You have anything to add on this one? I mean, again, based on our experience, how we have seen, let's say, mid-market responding to these kind of solutions?
One of the uniqueness of this Azure Local solution is it is not a vertically aligned solution. It is a horizontal cloud solution. So if you see, like we are working with the enterprises, almost all the industry verticals, right from retail, public sector, banking, manufacturing, all these people want this kind of a cloud environment in on-premise. So one of the advantage that we are offering through our HP GreenLake is like it is not every environment has to be large. So we can support and start as low as 2 servers, and we can scale up to hundreds of servers, right? So that is our value proposition. So customers are able to take a calculative risk. They are able to adopt GreenLake platform, for the right set of workloads by starting small, and when they see the success, then there is a environment expand. So I have seen a lot of customers who started with 4 nodes and now running almost like 25 to 30 servers of Azure Local with HPE.
Okay, thank you, Senthil. So let's talk a little bit more about use case. Right? What are the typical use cases that you have been seeing so far in Asia?
Okay, when we work with the customers, we cover a wide variety of use cases, starting with the basic data center modernization. When customer wanted to modernize their virtualization platform, for example, if the customer is running on Hyper-V, for him the logical evolution would be Azure Local. So you would be able to lift and shift the workloads to the hybrid cloud platform from a virtualization platform. And not only that, this platform is seen by the developers as a choice for innovation, because earlier if you want to innovate and create microservices based container applications, you should go to cloud. But we are bringing the Azure Kubernetes services to the on premise on top of Azure Local and HPE platform, so developers would be able to develop Kubernetes applications on the fly with full agility in this platform. So we also see container application and modernization of application as another use case. And running powerful databases, MS SQL, managed SQL instances on Azure Local is getting very, very popular. And I will also like to highlight the fact that of late, Azure Virtual Desktop got launched in Azure Local some 6 months back, and that is also getting a lot of traction because this virtual desktops doesn't like latency. So rather than running these workloads in public Azure, people have started to looking at running these workloads in the on-premise environment.
Okay, so that's a lot of technical capacity and that we can apply to real life activities and solution or project that the customer having. Right? So what kind of real world project you have seen using this kind of technology recently?
I think AI right now is a hot topic, and the observation that we have made is it is also becoming a major driver. Many customers who wants to run AI inferencing locally for better performance, reliability, privacy reasons, while still using Azure for centralized management, Azure Local actually helps them to enable that kind of hybrid AI architecture.
Yeah, to add on to what Jojo just mentioned, in today's world, many countries are implementing a lot of regulatory restrictions and requirements out there, and a lot of customers out there actually need to work, get the work done on premise. And with the Azure Local itself, as she has mentioned earlier on, a lot of AI inferencing, for example, takes place on at the customer's data center or at the customer's place and not in the cloud. And also by doing so, it actually reduces latency and it makes the whole AI experience much better. And on top of it, the Azure Local provides a single platform across the entire organization, and it's so much easier for a lot of these customers to deploy and manage.
Okay, so really it brings simplification, it brings also time to market reduction. So it's simpler, but is it safer? I think, security and operation management is also something which is very important to customer, right? So how this combined solution that we have between Microsoft and HPE are actually also addressing the concern that some of the customer may have into this domain?
Yeah, well, with Azure Local itself, the customer actually has the ability to manage at scale, and that brings security into big question. But a good thing about that is the Azure Local itself provides a lot of security features into it. You can actually follow or deploy the Azure security policies on premise, so that you can actually have a unified security policies across the entire organization, whether you're on premise or in the cloud itself. And the other good reference or good security feature would be the Microsoft Azure Defender, which can also be extended on premise, and it can also be integrated with your on premise, basically your organization's security policies to make it unified across all. And the other thing is it gives customer a consistent identity across the all deployments, and governance and monitoring is all centralized. So the IT managers can actually have full control and full visibility of what's going on in the organization itself. And then of course you tend to have a lot fewer miss patching, for example, or doing patching wrongly, or doing deployment of firmware wrongly and so on. Because with Kubernetes, you can actually roll back to the best known OS or patch itself. And that actually simplifies the whole deployment.
Okay, so a lot of less worries, which is always good for leaders to be able to sleep, right? So that you know, when you're a
It's
leader,
true.
you need to sleep a little bit, right? So another question is maybe how we add on top of that from an HPE point of view with GreenLake.
Yeah. See, we jointly collaborate with Microsoft, like I said, right? We do every validation, certification. And when Microsoft is talking about the security at the OS or the your software side, we take care of the security right from the ILO, the HP infrastructure, the virtualization layer, and also we add a layer of HP GreenLake. So we also add additional multiple layers of security, and we also provide you integrated patching and security updates so that whenever we are doing something, we are treating this as an appliance and everything is patched by default. We do not leave anything untouched so that everything is taken care of. So in terms of the unified patching updates and security updates, like HP has done a lot of differentiation so that the customer would be able to do this at ease.
I have another maybe angle that I would like to ask you also, right? So we know that HPE have been also adding to its portfolio network, right? So again, how that addition is also going to help on security and management of that layer as well.
Yeah, very interesting question. We were talking about the software security and the hardware stack security. So the security should be at every level. So it has to come from the perimeter level and then the north-south traffic, east-west traffic. So now that HP has purchased Juniper, we will be also be able to offer customer this additional security layers for firewalls at north, for the north-south, and we can also do a lot of east-west traffic using our portfolio. So that is a clear differentiation where we are expanding our portfolio.
Yeah, so really a end-to-end solution
Yes.
again from a technical standpoint. So how that is going to change the life of the IT manager and their team?
Very simple, right? So IT people will be having a lot of bandwidth now to focus on innovation, focus on Kubernetes architecture, focus on automating the databases, all those things. Because HP, when we are delivering this as an appliance, we take care of things end to end. So we do a factory based integration, and we also do a rapid deployment of the appliance in the customer premises, and we are also going to take care of the day to day activities. So in public Azure, people doesn't worry about the infrastructure or the hypervisor layer. So the same thing will happen for the environment in the on premise, and your IT people, for IT people it is a very simplified operations. He'll be having a centralized console where he'll be seeing the usage patterns, the capacity available, the buffer capacity that is available, and he will be able to see everything on a unified console, and he'll be able to focus on more interesting things.
Very good. What about on the Microsoft side, Danny?
To add on to what Senthil just mentioned, that's very true. So if you actually deploy Azure Local, the users use the same set of tools that they would actually use in Azure on-premise, and you can actually leave the hardware infrastructure lifecycle management pieces to HPE GreenLake, because you guys are doing a great job in the full management of the infrastructure itself, and let the IT folks, especially the developers, focus on what they're supposed to do.
Okay, that's good. Anything that you want to add also, Jojo, on the same subject?
Maybe just a use case like how it looks like in the real world. One example that I could give is actually the healthcare organization. You know how they have to keep patients' data on premise just to meet compliance requirement. Now with Azure Local, they can actually run clinical operations locally while still use Azure through centralized monitoring, security, as well as updates. Their IT team then just need to manage the environment through the familiar Azure tools that they already know, with workload staying where it needs to, which is local.
That's very good. And one thing I want to ask you also, Senthil, right? So we are talking about customer, IT, organization, and team, right? What about customer who don't have that capacity in-house?
Yeah.
How do we actually can also help? Because, transforming means also a certain learning curve. So how do we facilitate that on our side to prepare the team or to even take some of the responsibility of some of this operation?
Yeah, definitely right. So I will answer your question in two ways. One is if the customer doesn't have capacity to host this on premise, there also HP GreenLake can help, because we partner with a lot of co-location vendors, and we will be able to host this environment for you under the GreenLake model. That is answer number one. And for upskilling the skill sets of the people, we do have educational services where we can teach the people to do these activities, learn these technologies quickly. However, the best approach would be to adopt the GreenLake managed services. So we will be able to take care of the operations in a shared responsibility model. So we will be able to keep the lights on and run the environment for you. At the same time, we can also provide you the on-the-job training, so that we will continue to manage the environment till your team is ready.
That's very good. So I think we understand the technology, we understand a little bit the operation. Let's focus a little bit on the economics, right? How our partnership is basically transforming also the way people are going to receive this kind of solution from a financial point of view. What are we proposing to them? You were talking a little bit as pay as you go, but what are we proposing there exactly?
So from HP side, our lead with the solution is HP GreenLake, because when we offer HP GreenLake model on top of Azure Local, we are moving the purchasing model from the capex to the opex based model, which means we are leaving a lot of money at the customer end, which they can use for innovation, marketing, business development. And it is not like age old days where customer needs to buy the next 4-year capacity upfront and just keep parking it at the data center. So yeah, at the GreenLake, we can start small, and HP also provides the buffer capacity. So when there to address the workload spikes, and we are also having a proactive monitoring tool. So when we see that the buffer capacity is continuously monitored, then HP will drop ship the additional capacity into the customer data center, so that you always have a capacity available for you to run the workload. So effectively, we are changing the game with this approach, where we are leaving the money in the customer's hand, and we are only providing what the workloads want, and by just starting right enough with a buffer capacity, and it can scale from as much as 2 servers to any number of servers, this model.
Yeah, which is important before we go to maybe some additional point, right? I mean, today we know that there is a little bit of a stress into the market today,
Yes.
right? So having the right sizing and having that flexibility is today very important because of the commodity pricing, which is going a little bit all over the place at the moment, right? And which is very difficult for people to predict. So I think by having this type of model is also probably helping our customer, right?
It's very true, right? Why? Because today, if you typically take a purchasing pattern, your hardware is always sized for the year 3 workloads. But today, with a lot of capacity constraints, with the GreenLake model, I can start the environment with the first 6 months capacity requirement, and you have a 3 years contract with you with price protection. So whenever you want the additional capacity, you can keep on adding on at a scale. So this model really provides a lot of relief to the customers and the CFO, especially the CFOs, and also for the supply chain.
Oh, very good. So Jojo, what is the value proposition from an Azure or from a Microsoft point of view into this context?
Great question. So Azure Local at Microsoft, we actually use familiar Azure pricing as well as licensing constructs. So it actually helps the customers to plan with more consistency across their environment. I think that kind of transparency combined with a consistent operating model can actually help the customers to reduce surprises and simplify their forecasting for the future.
Okay.
Yeah, to add on to what Santil just mentioned, and Jojo, especially Santil, you mentioned about start small and grow as you expand, right? So the Azure Local solution itself actually gives gives the CIO especially, right, a kind of consistency across the organizations when they actually deploy it. And with Azure Local, you can also start small, like 2 nodes, 3 nodes, and then you expand it as you grow. And this actually helps, go in line with what the GreenLake is capable to do, right? You start small and you start adding nodes, and you do not need to pay upfront the future. You only pay for what you need today and then expand it. That's very important to a lot of customers out there. And then, of course, the ease of management and operations with the management tool from Azure Arc, and of course the infrastructure management tool from HPE. It makes a very compelling story for customers to adopt Azure Local. And lastly, the other one that we want CFOs to know is the predictability in deploying the cost of deploying such a solution where you start small, and as your business grows, you start to allocate more funds according to what your business needs, and you're not tied down to a single upfront large payment.
Okay.
To add
So,
up, right?
yeah.
When you're going to run a virtualization based workloads or a database on top of Azure Local, we can guarantee you that would provide you the lowest TCO today for any virtualization platform in the planet. On top of that, if you're going to innovate with AKS, then nothing beats in terms of TCO, because AK is available for free on Azure Local. So similarly, there is no wild guesses or no complicated Excel sheet to compare what would be the cost of running the workload on Azure Local versus other platforms. So that is the sweet spot, I would say.
Okay, so a lot of flexibility there and agility from a economics point of view, right? But again, I think most of our customers, they're also looking at solutions who are future-proof, right? I mean, it's good to have a technology which is maybe very strong today with a lot of feature, but how that is going to also simplify the life cycle of the customer, and specifically the life cycle of their hybrid platform.
You know how we say change is constant and the speed of technology changes is like so fast, we can't keep up. This actually helps customers to stay aligned with Azure innovation roadmap. So over time, Azure Local can actually benefit from new capabilities across management, security, and services. Customers can then modernize without having to worry, like I have to redesign their approach every time such changes actually comes about.
Yeah, so with Azure Local itself, customers get the latest version all the time, right? Because it follows what Azure is, literally a mirror of what you get in Azure Cloud itself, where everything's always up to date, latest version. So you can install version 1, for example, today. Tomorrow, when a new version comes on, you go on to a new version without having to pay additional costs, and you do not need to do forced migration onto a new platform. You can continue to use the current version. And the other thing is the Azure Local provides a consistent roadmap, and we're always innovating. So every time something new, a new feature comes out in Azure, you will be assured that you will get it on Azure Local if that feature is capable of running on premise itself. And of course, we are, as Microsoft or even HPE, we're always continuously innovating, and you're not forced, as I mentioned, you're not forced to move on to a new platform just because we innovated it. Just because it's a new innovation itself.
Okay, really good. And on an HPE side, right, what do we also propose to the customer on supporting this environment, which is also giving a kind of a future proofing to the customer, right? Because we are also there to support this value that actually Microsoft is actually proposing. How do we amplify that on our end?
Definitely right. When we talk about the HPE GreenLake, it first of all it encapsulates all these complications. So the IT operators are not exposed to these kind of complexities. The kind of changes that is rapidly hitting the customers in terms of the architecture, in terms of bringing the new features, because we take care of the environment, and the IT operators and line of businesses focus on the application and the workloads. And the GreenLake is not tied down to one platform. So GreenLake is a platform of choice. So you can run various workloads. Today you are running Azure Local on HP GreenLake. Tomorrow you can also run Hyper-V on a GreenLake model. So depending upon the customer workload requirement, we will also be able to expand the technology under the GreenLake. So this is really future-proofing the customer IT environment with our model.
Okay, I think we are getting close to the end of that session. So I think I would like you to maybe give two things. Yeah, first is one recommendation that you would like to give to the customer, and one next step that you would like to give to the customer. And so what they should do and what they should be worried about or careful about.
Okay.
So who want to start? Is it you, Senthil?
You okay? Thanks for giving that opportunity to start first. So I would say that when we work with the customers, many times they make mistakes in the start. So they always go to hybrid by accident, which is not the right approach. You should start right, plan right, design right, build right, and run it properly. So most of the times they get into complications with no proper design. So it is always hybrid by accident and a lot of chaos. So they do not see the value. There is a lot of ambiguity. But when you approach, so that's why we say you approach people like HPE. We are very well trusted partners for you. We will be able to recommend you properly, and we will be able to change the game where we will be able to do hybrid by design properly. So that is one of the biggest learnings that we have seen when people try to adopt the hybrid cloud approach.
And what should be their first step?
The first step is they should reach out us, or they should reach out to our reps. We are also happy to reach out to the customers. We are happy to conduct a workshop with them to assess their environment, their needs, and see how we can propose Azure Local, or how well the Azure Local can fit in their environment using our GreenLake model.
Okay, Jojo?
I'll put it this way. You don't have to choose between cloud innovations and local requirement. You can actually have both. So with Azure Local and HPE GreenLake, you can actually apply a consistent Azure approach while keeping the workloads that need to stay local secured, compliant, and performant.
Okay, Danny?
That's very true. And to echo what Santil and Jojo has mentioned, well, customers need to understand that when you are planning out for something, or you want to do migration or modernize a data center, there are a lot of planning that is required to go into it, and there are a lot of factors that the customer needs to think before they start moving ahead. And one good thing that Santil mentioned is talk to the right people, and HPE and Microsoft are the people that can actually help you from small to large. And you cannot buy a piece of software today and try to mask the problems that you already have in your data center. It has to be properly planned. And the other thing is, do not limit yourself to a solution that will actually limit your your flexibility down the road. And that is very important. As we discussed earlier on, future-proofing your solution is very important. And with Azure Local, Microsoft, and HPE, we can actually help customers achieve all these goals precisely and easily.
Okay, that's really good. Guys, I would like to thank you for, again, participating into that. I hope that it was interesting also for the people who are listening to us. Again, if people want to plan, if people want to discuss about technology, if people want to discuss about business and economics, I think we have a pretty good portfolio of people here who can help into that. We are, of course, capable of delivering this kind of solution across the entire region. So it doesn't really matter where our customers are actually going to listen this podcast from, but they will be able to definitely find a solution between HPE and Microsoft for them tomorrow. Again, let's modernize this IT world together. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.